Hello everyone, welcome to Kalam's answer writing session for the day. So we have picked up a question for the day in GS2 on the topic of appointment of judges to the higher judiciary. So that is going to be the question that we are going to discuss today. So before we jump into this question, let me address a basic question that I have been getting from students these days. So when is the right time to start an answer? When is the right time to start writing answers? So it's a difficult question to answer. I mean, different people have different perspectives about it. Some of us think that we want to build content first and then we will go forward and write an answer. Others would directly jump into answer writing and learn their way through while writing an answer. Okay, so both of them are totally acceptable strategies, but what I would personally prefer is for you to initially understand the nature of answer writing. Dekho, the scene in UPSC right now is that most people are writing answers. So in order to distinguish yourself, you have to start early, first thing, and then you have to write good answer. In order to write a good answer, you must have had an experience of being exposed to the questions of UPSC for quite some time. And one way to do it is to look at questions every day. Look at questions every day if you're a beginner. Look at mains questions every day and see how you will be able to address them. What is the introduction that you would like to give? What is the body that is going to be in your answer? And what is the conclusion? Keep these things in mind. And another way to improve your answer writing is to look at this program, watch the program every day and jot down some points, and maybe after 3 or 4 weeks you'll have enough content in your hands and you'll clearly know how to start an answer, end an answer, and have the structure, and then you write the answer. Just do not delay writing answers, because GSL is like an ocean. All right, it is never there'll never be a place where you'll say ki ha, I know most of the content and I'll be able to write a good answer. That is not the case. Even if you've read every other book in the industry, you'll still face a problem in writing an answer, simply because you have to write only so much. You have to write only 150 words in 10 markers and 250 words in 15 markers, and you will be given two pages or 3 pages, and you have to do it in 7 or 10 minutes. So everybody is going to face a problem. So start early. That is my suggestion. And if you are facing problems initially, learn how to write an answer, understand the basics of writing an answer. Okay, watch answer writing series, and that is going to help you. It will create an intuition in your mind. With that in your mind, whenever you finish reading a topic, start answering that topic. Okay, so that is going to help you. So that part has been addressed for the day. So now we will directly jump into the question. Let us read the question briefly. Appointment of judges in India's judicial system needs to be free and fair. Okay, discuss the statement and suggest some measures to be taken in this regard. Okay, so if you look at this question, there are basically 2 themes. One theme is he is asking you to discuss the free and fair judicial appointments. Okay, you have to talk about why and how appointment of judges can be made free and fair. And the second thing is to suggest some measures for the same. So basically there are 2 themes that you have to address. So I'll keep that aside. And before we jump forward, as usual, we will look at the prerequisites for writing a hardcore polity based question. So the prerequisites are: one is the mentioning of articles. All right. So what are the relevant articles? It's going to be 124, 217, and so on. And the second thing you should mention is the usage of committee reports. All right, it could be NCRWC, it could be ARC reports, or the Punche recommendations, and so on. You have to keep these things in mind. It is a hardcore polity based question, so we are not really going to draw a diagram. So that must be new for you. I am coming today and telling you all not to make a diagram. So yeah, like I said, you have to do your due diligence. You can always make a diagram even in this particular topic if you want to be creative. But overall, in your 20 questions that are going to be there in your question paper, make sure you have 5 or 6 diagrams at the minimum, and don't overdo it either, because that is going to kill the joy of reading an answer. All right, so let us look at the formatting of the answer. Introduction. Think for yourself. We've been doing this for quite some time. One way is to talk about the current affairs issue. The other way is to talk about the definitional form. how do you define appointment of judges? There is no such thing as defining appointment of judges. So you basically start out by saying Article 124 and 217 govern the appointment of judges for the higher judiciary, and then you move to the body of the answer. This can be done in 2 lines, and this is a decent introduction with enough weight because you're putting up numbers called articles, and this is going to be a good value addition for your answer. If you were to talk about a current affairs issue in relation to the appointment of judges, you could talk about the NJAC Act. National Judicial Appointment Commissions Act has been passed, and then it has been scrapped by the judiciary, and this has created a debate on the national forums about how the appointment of judiciary has to be done. So you could talk about these 2 things and introduce your answer to the examiner. The person who is going to evaluate an answer will have a feeling ki this guy knows something, this person has adequate knowledge. And then we move to the body and then to the conclusion. So the body is basically, we have sorted that the body has 2 themes. The first theme, like we've just seen, is the discussion part that we're going to do about how the appointment of judges in India is going to be is supposed to be free and fair. And the second thing is to talk about the measures, right? You need to talk about the measures to create a scenario, create an enabling environment for the appointment of judiciary to be free and fair. So these are the 2 things that you have to discuss. And C, the conclusion has to be in line with the question. So eventually, see, if you basically look at the basic concept or essence of this topic, this is basically trying to improve the legitimacy of judiciary. If the appointment of the judges is free and fair, people will trust the judiciary, because executive has what? It has the power of the purse. And what does the police have? The police have the power of the stick. What does judiciary have that makes it so big an institution? It is the respect we have for the judiciary. It is the trust we repose in this institution called judiciary, so that it will protect our rights. It is supposed to be the guardian of our fundamental rights as per the constitution. Okay, so keeping these things in mind, you have to tweak your answer into saying that the appointment of judges is if made free and fair, is going to do what? It is going to increase the faith of the people in the judiciary. And with that kind of positivistic conclusion, if you move forward, it is going to leave a good taste in the minds of the examiner while he moves from one question to another. So that will fetch good marks. Keep these things in mind. All right. So conclusion part has been done. So these are the parts. Now we will move forward and see a sample answer today and how it has been addressed by the team. So here is a sample handwritten answer that we are providing. So this is basically a real-time answer. It is being written in about 8 to 9 minutes. Keep that in mind. So you don't have to worry about the answer being extremely lengthy. We're going to write only as much as the examiner is going to be able to read, because that is the gist of answer writing, right? There is no point in providing you with lengthy synopsis. The key is to develop the skill in your minds to write a good answer with whatever content you have. Structuring is really important in answer writing because it shows the clarity of thought you have in your minds. Okay, once that reflects in the paper, the examiner is going to be impressed and he would be willing to give good marks. Ab content ka kya hai? Content, if a person has read basic NCRTs, he is going to write a decent answer. If he has read NCRTs and has done coaching and he has done extra work, he will be able to write a very good answer. And then if he has revised all these things multiple times, say 6 or 7 times, he'll write an exceptional answer. But the point is, you should be able to write a basic structure. A decent answer can always be written with some kind of basic knowledge, but the structuring has to be learnt. The structuring and the formatting of the answer has to be learnt, and that is what we are trying to tell you by telling you how the body of the answer should be, how the subheadings should be, how the diagrams can come into the answer, what are the necessary things and prerequisites you require to write an answer. So we will jump into the question now. So he introduces the answer by saying Articles 124 and 217 deal with the appointment of judges. Okay, this is good. However, the judiciary has evolved a complex collegium procedure which has been in debate in recent times. So this is a good answer. Like I said, you could have also started by talking about the NJAC. I think the introduction is slightly lengthy, but this is a good answer. This is a good introduction. It has a good flow. Okay, now we'll move forward. Need for free and fair judicial appointments. Okay, so he's basically discussing the first part of the question. The first part of the question tells you what to discuss the need for free and fair judicial appointments, while the second part is asking you to give you measures regarding the same. So he is talking about the need. It gives you the trust. It increases the trust and gives credibility to the institution of judiciary. Okay, preserves the broad doctrine of checks and balances and Montesquieuan separation of power. He has underlined separation of power, but he should have underlined Montesquieuan, because this is a keyword. When you quote a thinker, it is always good to underline him, because it creates visibility and shows the examiner that you know something about him. Okay, and the third point he has given is government is a litigator in more than 50% of the cases. So most of the cases, government is a litigator. So if the judiciary is not being appointed freely and fairly, there is a chance of giving rise to biased decision. All right, so this is a good point, and it has been prioritized properly. I think it is the third point, right? So it has been prioritized properly. And next, to protect the constitutional values of equality, justice for all, etc., without fear or favor. So this is a generic point. It feels like he's trying to fill some space, but this is a good point. We can move forward. Now we'll see what he has done. He is supposed to talk about the measures to improve the situation, improve the free and fairness in the judicial appointments. But what has he done? He is talking about he has given you a diagram, appointment procedure का diagram बना दिया इसने. The first judge's case, the second judge's case, the third judge's case. He has said here you have the primacy to executive, here you have it to judiciary, and here you have collegium. So this part is impressive. But the problem is he has taken up 1.5 pages of the answer, and he hasn't still started the second part of the question. The second part of the question had to be given equal importance, right? Because it is a two-themed question. First theme was an important theme. It has been discussed, but it is still going on. 1.5 page का वही बना दिया था. So let's see how he handles the measures. So then he says, so he's basically talking about the evolution of collegium system. Finally, in National Judicial Appointment Commission's judiciary ruled that it was unconstitutional because the judiciary didn't have adequate representation. Good. So this collegium system has been criticized for its opaqueness, possibility of nepotism, etc. So this is still discussion. So he is still in the first theme. He is still in the first theme of the question. So and all he is left with is only 30% of a paper, and he has given the measures. He has played a little trick. He used a diagram, and he is talking about the measures. Consensus must be formed on memorandum of procedure, US model of taking public opinion while approving higher judges. Okay, appointing higher judges. This is a good point. Bringing transparency in appointments. So this part is not satisfactory, clearly, because this should have been addressed better. You made a diagram, you have increased the tempo and tenor of the answer, you created some kind of interest and enthusiasm in my mind, but when coming to the measures, you didn't have space first time, which is to say that you didn't manage your space well. That is the first point. And the second thing is, you haven't addressed the whole part of the question. You're supposed to talk about the measures in a holistic manner. If it is a 10-mark question and you have two themes, what is the basic division? First theme is going to be addressed in one page, second theme is going to be addressed in second page. In some cases, you can clearly say that one theme is more important than the other, and adequately you can proportion your pages. But that is not the case here. The measures should have been addressed better. So what else could he have done? He could have talked about having proper representation for the executive and the judiciary in the appointments commission. So that is something he could have talked about. US model of taking public opinion, and he should have elaborated on these points. He should have written at least two more points, and then he should have moved to the conclusion. So basically we are talking about the structuring of the answer. See, I can tell you all the points that are required to make this answer better, but this is not about content gathering. I'm only giving you so much content that is required for you to write a decent answer, and you have to first do this and then move ahead by enrich your answer by reading more, and you'll do that anyway because you're supposed to read newspapers, you're supposed to read current affairs magazines and so on. But if you all want, I can tell you all the additional changes that he could talk about. In appointment of judiciary, he could have talked about the issue of Justice Karnan. अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ जुडिशरी में तो ट्रांसफ़र भी आता है ना. जस्टिस कर्नन बेसिकली व्हाट डिड ही डू, he delayed his own transfer, he took up the case of his own transfer and then he stayed it. Okay, so this has created some kind of accountability issues in judiciary itself, and also there is a problem of uncle judges. So what happens here is that in higher judiciary, there are judges who have an experience of 20-25 years, and when they come to the collegium and they want to take people, they take people from their kith and kin, they take people from who they have been close to, and that creates a problem of accountability and transparency. So these things could have been mentioned. These things could have been mentioned in this particular answer, according to me, and this should have been elaborated. So which is why I have put up it is not satisfactory, and then in this way free and fair appointment of judges can be achieved by preserving the credibility of the institution. So the conclusion is good, but the second theme has not been addressed well. So why did we take a question which is not a model answer? Because I want you all to see the problems that you will face when you write an answer. More often than not, when we write an answer, we tend to focus more on one theme of the question instead of addressing all the parts of the question. ये तो double theme का question हो गया. Sometimes there are 3 or 4 subparts, and if you focus on only one subpart or 2 subparts, and even if you write exceptionally well in those 2 subparts, you won't get good marks. It is because the answer, it is because you have to write a holistic answer, and to do that, you aren't supposed to make mistakes like this. So that is what I wanted to point out, which is why the answer has been written deliberately in this particular manner. So what have we learned today? The most important thing we have learned today is balance. Balancing an answer and being holistic. Keep these things in mind. So whatever points you have gotten from this discussion today, write them down, jot them down in maybe 1/4 of an A4 paper, and see if you can address the question. Go back and write the same answer and upload it in the project. Thank you.